Hi, everybody. So we are here today with Christina Elizondo, and we are going to talk about an experience that she's lived through. So, as you all know, I talk a lot about growing up in a cult. So she had a specific religious experience. I don't know exactly if you would define it as a cult or just a negative religious experience, or how would you label it if we had to label it?
Right now, I would label it as an occult. That's
Okay.
looking back at everything that's happened. I would definitely label it as an occult.
Okay.
Definitely.
I try not to tell I let people say what it is, the experience is for them, because we've all come from different backgrounds. We have different words and different feelings that we feel about that. But she has been amazing enough to share her experience, and this is the beginning of the ones that I've started doing as far as sharing experiences that other people have had. My goal is to share other people's stories so we can take away some of the misinformation that's out there, because a lot of times when you use the word cult, there's all these ideas that come out of it that, it's the Kool-Aid, it's Waco, it's Jonestown, it's, they're always very dramatic.
Yeah.
And in my experience, the real experience for most people coming out of some type of negative religious background is it's not quite that dramatic, but it is very traumatizing.
There you go. Yes.
So she's going to tell us a little bit about hers, and we're just going to have a conversation. Really, really glad that you guys have decided to listen to her story. If you know anybody who would like to share their story, would love to have them on as well. This is Brooke, Conversations with Brooke, and we're here with Christina. So we're just going to dive right in.
Okay.
So tell me, are you comfortable sharing the church that you were in?
Yes. MorningStar Apostolic Church.
Okay. And where was that located?
Higley and Guadalupe.
Okay. Oh, it's here in Phoenix?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for some reason I thought it was somewhere else.
No. It's here.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
How long were you there?
About 30 years.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you were
there for a long time.
pretty young when you were involved with that.
Yes.
How were you drawn to that church? Tell me a little bit about the story of, you were married.
My husband and I moved here to Arizona and just seeking a different life. We both wanted something different, and we left New Mexico. We both got job offers with who is Kroger now, but at the time it was Smith's, and we stayed with them throughout.
I remember when it was Smith's.
We moved out here when it was Smith's, so I helped open all the stores. He opened up all the warehouses.
Okay.
He opened up the warehouse, and I helped him open up the stores.
Okay.
So we did that. We moved out here, and a couple of years into it, I was still seeking. Since a very young age, I was seeking God. I was trying to find who God was, who is God, not knowing, just always seeking. I remember at a young age, at 13. Sorry.
It's okay.
At a very young age, I was kicked out of my house, my parents' home. And I remember even being younger than that, at 5 years old, just praying and asking God, just show me who you are, just wanting to have that private relationship that I wanted so bad with God.
Right.
And I felt in all the years in all the churches that I had went to, up until that point of coming to MorningStar, that they weren't the truth. I felt that I had found what I was looking for here,
Right.
and that's what I thought I found. And so I remember being at. My husband came home one day and he goes, I found this. I talked to this friend of mine at work, and he says, you got to go check out this church. And we were in the middle of a huge turmoil battle. My husband and I, we were getting divorced. And I was done. I was just completely done with the marriage. I was done. And he was like, you have to understand this. I found this guy, and he's at my work, and he's taking me to church. And I was like, I'm over it. You had your chances. At that point, we were like 15 years. We were 15 years in the marriage at that point in time. And I was just done. I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. And he was like, you just got to come with me one time to this church. And we broke up. It was a big, huge, ugly breakup. And then he started going to that church, and he started going with Danny and Josie, and they, he started telling them about God and started telling them about different things, and it's the truth, and all the ways that they presented it were like so amazing. Like, the truth shall set you free. You shall know him. That's how you know him. You should know them by their fruits. You should know them by their families. You should know them by, just all these things that were recollecting in my mind of what I was searching for in every church that I had went to.
Right.
It was like they just kept saying all the things that I was like, wow, this truly is the truth. It's the truth. So as we delved in, I was very hesitant at first, at the beginning, because they wanted us to not wear makeup, and all the ladies didn't wear makeup. They didn't wear jewelry. They were, they didn't even wear pants. And long hair, no makeup, no pants, just the whole 9 yards. So that was kind of hard for me at the beginning to change to. Very hard, because I have always been, and I don't wear a lot of makeup, but I do wear makeup, and I wear lipstick, and I wear, I used to wear jewelry a lot all the time. I don't have any on right now, but it sounds funny. But I didn't want to, saying this now, to go to fast forwarding. I realize now that I didn't want to be controlled of what I wore all the time. Right. And that's what was happening. They were controlling what, as the time went on, the preachings are coming through, and they're saying, well, if you're not doing this, you're not going to be blessed by God, and this isn't going to happen. And I was just like, whoa, am I hindering myself because of this? And just trying to fit in and fill it out, and I'm getting blessed as we're doing different things are being blessing. And then they would tell us, no, you're not going to be blessed in this manner because you're not obeying God in this manner, type thing. You know what I mean?
So a lot of tight rules about things.
As the years went on, the rules were changing, and they were getting different, and not so much rules of at the beginning, it wasn't so much rules of where to go or what to do. It's just, okay, well, we're gonna, it's your clothing, and then it was what you're wearing out to just outside, but then all of a sudden now it's what you're wearing in your house, and how you're going to sleep. Are you sleeping in your bed naked? Why the hell do you fucking care? I'm sorry, am I supposed to cuss?
It doesn't matter. You can cuss. I cuss all the time,
okay.
so
I'm like,
you're free to cuss as much as you want.
Yes. But I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's always explicit. If they're listening to me, it's always going to be explicit, unless I'm on somebody else's thing and I'm told I need to cut those out. So then I do.
So at that point in time, it was just.
And how many kids?
When I went in there, I had 4.
Okay.
And then while we were in there, then I had 2 more. Okay. So I had 4. My daughter Desiree was 3 at the time.
And she's the
4th child that was there. Then
she was the youngest one you brought in
at the time.
Okay.
Yes, and then I had 2 more while I was in church.
Okay.
Yeah. So as the years went on, we just started. Everything was evolved around the church. We had church on Wednesday night. We had choir on Thursday night. We had church on Friday night, and then we had something to do with the church on Saturday with family function with the church, and then Sunday we had church.
So I found that, there's that experience that, that people are looking, people are naturally drawn to community. It's actually partially it's a survival instinct because being in a community means you're more likely to survive. But as people, we're drawn to community, and we're drawn to, be part of something that we can believe in and be part of and be behind and all that kind of stuff. That's why we get in all these different groups that do this. It's why we get into hobbies, all this other stuff.
Right.
But I find when, and a lot of churches will have a lot of different things, but there's something about ones that are more controlling, that they almost capitalize on more of your time, and partially, and then also, and I'm not sure if this was your experience, but they also don't want you spending time outside of that.
Yes, very little.
And it's very frowned upon to have relationships, friends
outside of the church.
Completely. Because
even family.
Yeah.
There was when my father died, my father and I did not have a good relationship. We didn't have a good relationship. He kicked me out when I was 11. Lots of issues happened. Either way, when my father passed away, I called him on the phone. I was there. My daughter, I was pregnant with my son at the time, and I called him to tell him, my father passed away, and all he could say to me was,
This is the pastor.
yes.
Okay.
He said, sister, let the dead bury the dead and come home. I was like, what? Like, excuse me? And I tried to get him. I was like, what does that mean? And he was like, you don't need to be there. I'm like, this is my father.
Right.
And I just hung up the phone because I couldn't even deal with what he had just said. I just hung up the phone, and it didn't process until another time later. And a couple of weeks later, my best friend's mother passed away, and he said the same thing to her. And I was just like, how could you be so that's when my eyes started opening up, and I started seeing things differently at that point, I could say. So
how far in was that? I mean,
oh my God, we were deep.
Right.
Deep. That was my dad passed away in 2001.
Okay.
So we had already been there almost 7 years at that point.
Yeah, we had a lot of experiences like that too. Yeah. There was a lot of if there was things that happened with family, it was like it was almost like that's not your real family type of thing.
Totally.
It's like even though it was my grandparents on my mom's side and on my dad's side, and different levels of family, whether it's cousins or second cousin, because we had all these different people outside.
Yeah.
But there was very much it was almost like those people were not that important because they're not a part of this group,
this nucleus.
Yeah. So there was a lot of events. There was a lot of milestones that happened with family members.
My mom and dad's 50th anniversary, I missed it.
Yeah.
Because they made us feel like crap because they were having the grand opening at the new church that we helped build. Right. My husband did the floor.
That was my next question.
Okay. At this church, my husband put in, so he was a master cement guy. My husband he could build a house from the bottom up. So he was basically the whole foreman of the church, besides the pastor who was the main foreman. But my husband went in there and did the whole cement floor. He built the whole altar. He built the baptismal. He was there day in and day out. All the husbands were there working every day. We'd go over there, take them food. We did all this work all on the church.
Take a breath. Fix your thing.
Sorry.
No, just could make sure that's. Anyway.
And then we get to, the point now where I forgot what we're talking about.
So we were talking about.
I just lost my train.
It's okay.
Okay.
No, you're fine. I mean, it's a lot of stuff to
remember.
It's a lot of
things
stuff
are coming up. Like so many things are coming up that I should say this, and it's like I should say this, and I should.
And
say
there's
that.
no pressure. Like this doesn't. This can go on as long as we want, or
Okay.
as short as we want.
Yeah,
so
okay,
don't worry
okay.
about it. But,
So like a lot of things are coming up as you're talking.
And the funny thing is, the more you talk about it, the more these things do come up.
Yeah.
And if you get emotional after this, let me know. Like, feel free to reach out to me because I want you to know. Like this could bring up some stuff.
Yeah.
Even though it's there.
It did the other day. More than it really did. It brought up a lot of stuff. I was like, whoa, crying like a baby, but I'm okay. I think.
So my next question was going to be what you kind of started diving into. There's this place that when you're in, that there's this expectation about tithing.
Yes.
The average is 10% to the church.
10%.
But what the experience is that if you had a specialty, that was also something you gave freely.
Yes.
And it was an expectation.
Always.
Which when I look back now and I see all the people who did everything for them for free.
Yes.
Attorneys.
Oh
not to mention everybody tithed 10%. Mortgages, attorneys,
caterings. My daughter
housing,
still does caterings for them to this day.
Taking care of things, keeping care of their house, cleaning their house, painting their house.
And they never charge.
Building structures, donating. Like the amount of stuff that was donated, including the amount of money that was given freely on top of the 10%, because it was like, we need to do this, and then it was everybody would also offer so much.
The building offering was separate from the tithing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they didn't have a home for a while because they had tore it down. I mean, it was like they had a house, but then they tore it down because they were going to build another one, and then it was everybody had to put money together to help them build their house. And then it was built by people
who were in the church
were in the church and stuff
and
like that.
And our pastor didn't use I can't say he didn't use our money to build his house, but he was getting the tithing, and he's got a very nice house. He happens to drive a Tesla right now. Nobody else in our church drives a Tesla.
Yeah, there's definitely a feeding up, and
totally.
There's a joke that
I don't see it. That's the crazy part. The people in the church don't. I'm sorry, but this is just the part that gets me the most. Like, okay, I get it when you're a pastor, yes, he's receiving the tithe. Yes, he's supposed to live nice. But above and beyond a certain amount of money, as a pastor, you should give that money back to your community, back to your people. And he has all these things that he wants to help that are outside of the country, but he's not doing anything with people right here in the church. Like, so many people that I knew needed help, including myself.
So that was one of my experience. So
yeah.
My issue with it was I was tithing off of and putting groceries on my credit card.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, is that really a spiritual thing? Am I gonna where's the line between you helping the church and the church helping you?
And he would also say you have to tithe off of the gross.
Yes.
You couldn't tithe off the net. And I would be like, wait a minute, I'm only bringing in the net. I'm bringing in the net. I'm not bringing in the gross. How am I going to tithe you off that? And they would say that, well, but I was saying before about the traveling. I think that's what I was talking about, the traveling. So when we would go traveling, he would, I missed my mother's and my father's 50th wedding anniversary because he said, oh no, you guys need to stay here for the anniversary because we're opening up the church right now. That's what I was talking about.
Yes.
And I missed my mother's and father's 50th wedding anniversary because of the grand opening of the church that I had to stay for because they scheduled it at the same time my mother's 50th wedding anniversary was. And it got postponed a couple of times, and I get it, but they made us feel so guilty about leaving, like we couldn't leave. Like, your husband did this, and he's going to get all this, and you did all this, all this. And then church happened, and we didn't go. And it was so many other times we would call and we would tell them, we're going to go on vacation with this. And my husband and I, we worked our asses off. Right. And we would work 3 months and take 3 weeks off and work 3 months. And everybody always said that about us. Like, you guys always take really nice vacations. Like, we always take our kids because I didn't have kids to leave them behind. I had kids to bring them with me. You know what I mean? And they did instill that in us. That's the part that I want you to understand. They instilled a great sense of family in our family. But the minute anybody decides to walk outside of that realm, you step one step out of that realm, and it's almost like they push you away. And they wanted me to push my daughter away, who didn't want to come to that church anymore. And I never understood why, because I was told not to ask. I was told not to ask her. My daughter didn't want to go to MorningStar anymore, and I was told, don't ask her. Why? But I just obeyed, and I just did what I was told.
So when did your daughter leave?
My oldest daughter left when she was 16, and she went following another person in another church with same religion. And she followed them, believing that they were going to lead her to the right path. And that guy just blew her mind and didn't do anything with her, and then hurt her heart. And that church married her to this, my now ex-son-in-law, who's her father of her daughter. And they had a bad start, and they married him without me or my husband even knowing.
And she was 16?
No, they were 18.
They were 18 by then.
But they just got 18.
Right.
You know what I mean? And being a man of God, they all preach the man of God needs to come talk to the husband or the man of the house. Well, he didn't do that. That man of God didn't even come talk to the man of God who she was at, which is a totally different church than I'm in right now, right?
Right.
They came out of our church because they got hurt too. So them being vindictive who they are, decided they're gonna throw fires back. That's what it is. It's a game. I swear to God. It's part of my French, but it's freaking stupid. They got mad because my daughter went over there and was deciding to marry another guy from another church. So they decided to play the little game and then not tell us because I don't need to know. I'm only her mother and her father. He's a man of God. He should have called me and told me my daughter, but she's 18, so she can make her own decisions. 6 months later, my daughter's pregnant, and her baby daddy decided that he was going to try to kill my daughter in a car with knives and my granddaughter in the car. It was pretty explicit. I mean, pretty crazy stuff. He went to jail. He's better now. They're better now. But that man of God in that church allowed this to happen and didn't stop me.
Right.
Does that mean didn't come to me? And if they would have come to me, I'd have told them, no, don't get married. Would they have got married anyway? Yes, but at least I would have had it off my conscience. It's not on my conscience, but they teach you that you should know what your kids are doing, and you should know, and you're going to be held responsible.
So were you guys held? So that was
held accountable.
So you guys were held very accountable for your
very
children.
accountable. Yes. Same thing with.
So if your kids made mistakes, were you very frowned upon?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, that's been something I've seen a lot too.
The whole church would frown upon
like
you.
Nobody's human. In the far as like our kids are separate from us, and we do teach our kids.
Yeah.
You know, but just. It's like if your kids make a mistake,
oh
it's
my
like
God, it's the worst.
You are the worst parent.
Ever.
And you're very judged by your parenting.
Oh my God. Because you should know them by their fruit. That's what they always say. Right?
Yeah.
Except for when the fruit is theirs.
Okay.
Then it's a whole other story. Okay.
Was there much of a hierarchy?
Oh my God, heck yeah. Their family couldn't do no wrong.
Where were you guys in the hierarchy?
We were pretty high up in the hierarchy.
Okay.
Pretty high up in the hierarchy. So, but
is it based on the amount of money you make?
I used to not believe that.
Okay.
But as
I didn't either. No, but then I did.
As I thought about it, the more our tithing was pretty high, and we're pretty high up there. I was a mortgage broker.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I mean, I was very strict with my kids. So my kids didn't hardly ever do anything bad. Right. Never. Ever, never, ever. But other of my friends did, and they were shunned upon so bad. Like they were made to feel like just like you were the scum of the earth because your kids made a mistake.
Every time.
And that's what was pulling people out. That's what pulled people out.
Every
and
time.
They would stop coming. Like, well, what do you mean? Well, my daughter got pregnant. Okay, so just love her and take care of her. No, your daughter got pregnant. They have to shun that child away and put them away and make them to feel bad and make them to feel like they were the worst person. I was like, how is that making anything feel good for a child? How, as a child or a woman, should never be felt disgraced about how she is being pregnant. Absolutely. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are.
Absolutely.
And one of the circumstances, and one of the little girls in our church, how it came about, and they don't want to ever, they probably sue me for saying this. I don't really give a fuck because I'm going to say it. One of the little girls was taken advantage of by one of the other ushers in the church. Got pregnant.
One of the who of the
ushers.
Church? Ushers.
Who was married.
Oh.
Okay. Got pregnant by this man. Was
it consensual?
They said it was. They said it wasn't. In either case, I don't know the whole story. How old was she? I don't want to say the wrong age, so I don't know. Okay, so I can't. I know she was very young, and that person ended up going to jail, and it was hush hush. But the girl was the one that was made to be the bad guy.
Right.
Not the man, the girl.
Yeah.
So what is she going to do? Stop coming to church?
That was all about...
They made her feel so shameful about what she did. The mom wouldn't even help her do this. The mom wouldn't help her do that. I'm like, you guys are fucking idiots. Like, are you fucking kidding me? You're not going to help this poor child who's, now she's single. The baby daddy's a fucking moron, isn't around, has kids with other moms who know the fuck he's doing. And all of a sudden now you're going to make this child feel like she's bad. I said, no, fuck you people. I would still go help the little girl. I would still go after the little girl. And I could say names. I don't know if I should say names or not, but...
It's totally up to you. You don't have to.
These other little girls would come to me and still come to me to this day and tell me, thank you for helping me. Because their own mothers wouldn't help them because they were so afraid. They were so afraid of what? Of who? Of what? Of Danny? Because he's going to blow the wrath on you? He's going to... He doesn't control us, but he thought he did. And that's the problem. That's the problem. He was controlling all of us. And those poor little girls, it killed my heart. Fuck. And they destroyed her. And it was horrible. I didn't want that to happen to her. And she's good now. I mean, she left and she didn't come back. And thank God. But it was an experience that she'll never forget. You know what I mean? It's just something that she was made to feel ugly for no reason because she got raped. Give me a break.
Well, we had a lot of, there was a lot, shame, shame was such, and I think it is. And I think that, there's a lot of churches and religions out there that their teaching is shame based, and it's all about making you feel. And I as I've grown in my experience of God or the universe or whatever, my experience is like, shame is not a very high emotion. And
at all.
I realized that there was a point when I did that with my kids too.
Right.
I realized that I would like shame them, and punishing was a shameful thing.
Yeah.
If it's like make them feel bad, because that was my experience for the longest time.
Yep.
And then when I learned, it was like, no. I mean, I had this whole moment where I learned, it was like, wait a minute, like I need to love them through this.
Right.
Shame doesn't help somebody through something. It just makes them feel like shit, and then they just keep diving through this circle.
That's what happened to me as a child. I was very shamed. I was very shamed for everything that I did. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what I was. I was abused as a child. So everything that I did, I was the ugly person no matter what. I was always ugly. So I knew in my mind that that's not what I wanted for my kids.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that to them. And so I remember one time my husband and I were having an argument, and my daughters at that time, they were like maybe 14 and 15. My oldest daughter was 15, and my daughter Jacqueline was 14. And we were at our house, and my husband and I, we got into a big argument. And the mentality of the church at that time, and I corrected my husband super quick, because he said, well, they're going to be raised up to be whores, and they're going to be this, and they're going to be that, because they're talking to guys on the phone. I was like, wait, what?
Right.
What are you talking about? Why would you say that about my child?
Right.
I said, not just my child, but your child.
Right.
I said, if you're calling them a whore, you're calling me a whore. And so you better back the fuck up, I told my husband. And he just, he like,
right.
I've always stood up for my daughters, no matter what. And I'm not, I knew, that was like at the beginning of the church, when we first started coming to church, and he was like, yeah, you're right. I told, we didn't raise our kids we didn't come here to raise our kids to be shamed. And that was what I told him in the beginning. So I didn't raise my daughters to be shamed. I should say I felt like I didn't raise them to be shamed or shameful until I got older. And then the books were turned around on me. And then when I stopped going to MorningStar because of the things that I was finding out that was happening, and then that shame turned around to me. And then the pastor told my kids, don't talk to me.
Okay. So he's actually turned your children
completely.
So how long have you been out?
7 years, pretty much.
And are your
6
children
years.
Still involved?
3 of them are still.
Two of
Two of them are still up. Yeah, because the third one, my daughter Esther, my 21-year-old, is the one that told me that last week. Remember I told you what she said.
So what did your daughter say to you a week ago?
February 27th. 6:35 p.m.
Sorry.
I'm having a conversation with my daughter on the phone. And she's telling me that she had just come back from therapy because she has all these issues. She has ADHD, she has anxiety, she has all these problems. And she said, Mom, I just have to let you know. I was talking to Samantha, I was talking to my therapist, and she says, you raised me in a cult. And out of any other person that can say that to me, when your child says that to you, it did something to me so much that I have to be here to say this. I have to. They have chosen to not say things and not do things and make people feel like they're the ones to be shamed. I've been shamed by that church so many times. But I know I'm not.
Yeah.
And that's what I want people to know. That you're not what they say you are. You are beautiful, and you are strong, and you are courageous. And I am that right here today, starting saying that because so many people got hurt and have been hurt and are continuing to be hurt emotionally, physically, spiritually. I have spent 7 years of my life, these last 7 years of my life, trying to figure out who I am. Because for the last 30 years, being in MorningStar, I was being who they wanted me to be, and not me. And now that I know who I am and who they are, it's the truth has to be known.
Yeah.
Because the truth is the truth. And in the end, the truth is the only thing that's going to set you free.
Yeah. What was it that, what were the, and I know from experience and people that I work with and talk to, that there's not one thing that happens. There's a lot of things that happen. But what were some of the things that led you to leaving?
Well, my husband passed away. And it seemed like...
How long ago was that?
It's been 8 years, 6 months, 4 days since he passed away. And immediately after he passed away, I felt a total difference at that church. And 3 months after it took me a while. It took me a whole year to just come.
Grief is a very,
I was married to him for 30 years.
Yeah.
He was the only man I ever knew for 30 years.
Wow.
I was very faithful to him. And 3 months after he passed away, I finally went to church. I hadn't gone to church in a while. I was just grieving and sad, and people were taking me food, but they always say it gets worse when everybody goes home.
Right.
And it does. And at the time, I had Desiree and Esther and Samuel at home, and I was in such a state of disbelief and shock. And I finally went back to church that third month after he passed away, and the pastor's wife, Sister Lydia, approached me after church, and she said to me, "Oh, sister, I'm surprised to see you." And I said, "Well, yeah, I've been kind of, under the weather a little bit." And she says, "No, I'm surprised to see you at all. I was sure that Brother Frank was the only reason why you were coming to this church.
Brother Frank was your husband?
And now that he's not here, I'm surprised to see you."
After you'd been in this church for 20 some years.
25 years. And I looked at her and I said, "Wow." I was like, "Huh?" What? I was blown away, and I had just come off the altar and I was crying because my first day back at church, I felt like I had a relief, and
Seeing people
and she just ripped my heart out, my back and my front and my throat, and left me to bleed. Didn't even say anything. Didn't hug me. Did nothing. And I was like, okay. So I went and I talked to my friend, At that point in time, we had been estranged for a while because Josie and Daddy were the ones that had brought us to church, and she was no longer going to MorningStar because of her and her husband had passed away. Her and her husband had got divorced. That's a whole other story. They got divorced. They blamed everything on Josie. They said it was her fault. They said
The church?
They said it was her fault that they got divorced. They said it was her fault that everything that happened to them was all Josie's fault. And right after, so this is at the point now where my husband had passed away, and this had happened. So I called my other friend and I said, what does that mean? I told her, can you help me? Sister Martha, I said, can you explain to me what that means? And she goes, I don't know, I can't explain it. She says, I seriously can't explain. Martha is Sister Lydia's sister-in-law. And she says, I don't understand it. And she goes, you need to go back and you need to ask her, what did she mean by that? What? I thought you wouldn't be here. The only reason why you're here was because of Brother Frank. Did you not know? Do you not know who I am? I've been at this church. Isn't that, am I that meaningless to you right now,
Right.
So on the next Wednesday, we had prayer meeting in the mornings. We had to be at prayer meeting on Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock every morning. And then after prayer meeting, then we had prayer lunch. Then after prayer lunch, then we had service. Then we had Bible study. Wednesdays was just crazy. So I went to church, and I point blank asked her. I said, can you tell me what that meant? I'm baffled. I'm hurt. You always told me that if I have a problem with you, come talk to you directly. This is what I told Sister Lydia.
Right.
I said, I'm going, you know me, I'm not that chick, so go talk behind your back. I'm going to tell you first. I said, I will tell you this. I talked to Sister Martha because I was hurt by what you said. I said, I don't have a husband right now to go talk to. But the fact that you told me that you were surprised that I'm still here because Brother Frank is gone, it completely blows my mind.
Right.
That you would think that about me. You don't know me, if that's what you think. And those were the exact words I said to her.
What did she say?
Oh, sister, you have no idea what I know about you and all the stuff I know about you.
What was she referring to?
I was like, what? What? What does that mean? And I was like, okay. Then the bitch came out of me. Now I'm fucking pissed. Because at first I was sad and then I was pissed. I should. So all these years of you telling me that you had my back, and anytime anybody came to you and told you anything about me, you would come tell me, was a lie. Because if you can sit here right into my face today and tell me all these things you know about me, and you have not once ever come to me until now, that my husband is dead, you know me not. Have a nice day. And I walked out.
So
I was done at that point. My kids were very upset with me. My kids were mad. They didn't want me to do that. They were older at this point. You have to understand. My kids are all older. The only ones that were still at home was Esther, Samuel, and Desiree. Desiree was 18 or 17 at the time. And how dare you talk to me like that? You're in the sanctity of the church, and oh my God, heaven's gonna fall, and the wrath of God is gonna fall on you, and you're gonna see, oh my God, you don't speak to the man of God like that, and blah, blah, the man of God, she said. And I was like, I just said to her, and I said, you know what? You're not a man of God if that's how you think. Because first of all, you're a man. Second of all, you're not a woman of God either. Because if the things like that are coming out of your mouth about me, the person who's been in your church and been your right-hand woman forever, and you can do the same thing to Josie, who you did behind her back too. I said she was right. Josie was right, and I don't need to be in your church or in your presence anymore.
Right.
And I left. Didn't go back to the church for a long time. all the rumors came out of the church. Like, oh my God, she started spreading rumors after rumors after rumors after rumors. That was 3 months after my husband passed away. And ever since that day, and then the following week, another girl had come. I was going out of habit because that's all I knew.
Right. So you were still involved for a little while.
I would go, and then every other week I would just stop going. And then I started talking to my friend Josie again, who at that time, her and her husband had gotten divorced. Right. And she hit me up on Facebook, and she was like, "What's going on? How are you doing? And how are you doing?" You have to understand, me and this woman raised our kids together in that church. We would do everything together every day. Her and I were like this. Like, she was like my soulmate, my female soulmate.
So were you like shunned against having a relationship with her when she got divorced?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally. They told us we couldn't. They told me anybody that leaves this church, you don't have any communication with them whatsoever because they don't believe, but we believe, and you don't need to have any kind of that negative vibe, that negative information.
I find it really interesting that churches would teach you not to be open to other people who are outside your belief system.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't, and I think and this is not to blame it all on churches by any means.
It's not the church, it's the people.
I agree.
Let me clarify this. Church is made up of people.
Right.
People.
Right.
Are making. I want to make sure we clarify that.
I agree.
These are people saying these things coming out of their mouths, and people are human. We're flesh.
Yes.
And nobody. And this is the one thing I want. If there's anything I want to get across to this, it's not God. Right. God is a sovereign God. He's a peaceful God. He wants us to have peace. He wanted me to find truth and continue to find truth, because everything that I've been through, from the point that I left my mother's womb, left her home, and was being abused all the way to 11 years old when I left the house because I didn't want to be abused anymore. I left. Yes, they threw me out.
You were 11?
I was 11 when my dad kicked me out of my house, okay? Because I was being abused.
Yeah.
He didn't believe me. Okay, so from that point forward, in my seeking, in my searching for God, in my searching for the truth, I've never stopped, because that people won't stop me from seeking the true God of the universe and the things that He has done for me. Nobody can take that away.
Absolutely.
Nobody.
Absolutely.
He has given me every step of every ounce of every breath that I have to be able to be right here talking to you about this, because people need to know that there's other people in that church that are hurting, that went to that church, or that are currently going to that church, that are hurting because their kids are there. And I have other family members that are, I call them my family because I don't have any other family here in Arizona. Right. But he doesn't allow his kids that go to that church can't talk to his other brothers and sisters that go to another church.
Right.
They're their family, like, that's their brothers and sisters, his brothers and sisters, his dad. He doesn't allow his kids or people in that church to congregate and or talk with his family members.
That's insane.
It's no.
Well, and I think
but that's what he did to me with my kids.
Absolutely.
Right? And so he told my kids that because I got in the accident and I almost broke my hands and I broke both my hands and my back, that was God's way of punishing me. And that he said this over the pulpit. My 13-year-old daughter swore she would never go back to that church. My granddaughter said she would never go back to that church again after he said, my daughter had to explain to her that wasn't the case, who was not in the church anymore. But they told that to everybody over the pulpit, that the reason I got in the car accident was because it was God's way of punishing me.
Right.
How in the world? So he's going to go back and say, well, God took my husband because that was His way of punishing him?
Yeah.
Well, she had cancer. Lydia had cancer. Does that mean that God punished her because she had cancer? No. Oh, she's the angel, and God's putting all his sickness on just to show how strong she is and she can get it. But when I get it, when this happens to me, I'm the devil, and everything's, I'm the devil. That's why they're trying to kill me. That's basically what they made it seem to be. And my granddaughter was furious. At 13, she says, I'm never going back to that church. She heard the pastor say this about her nana.
Right.
Well, I can't even talk about it. It's so disturbing. If that makes any sense.
Well, and you know, like back to what you were saying about you know, the when you leave and that.
Yeah.
So and that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. Like when you're in a group like this, if you leave, that means you're leaving everybody you've known, every family member, every friend, and these are people you've built relationships with for 30 years. So it's like you literally have to, and you don't have anybody outside because you've already cut everybody off because you weren't allowed to have any of those relationships.
And so everybody, that's the crazy thing is that even,
and it ruins your livelihood too. Like if you're a mortgage person like you were, you know, all of a sudden, and you're counting on these people who've helped feed you.
But the funny thing is it's not. He never let me do mortgages in there for anybody else in the church except for him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In a lot of them, though,
they want you to do it that way,
you know, you're getting a lot of your business in that circle.
Yeah,
so as soon as you leave, they're going to cut that off.
They didn't want us to do it only if it was like you had to be a specific. Like he would let me do it, but only people came to me, came to him, and they agreed, and then he would let me do the loan or whatever. If it was, they prayed about it, everything was good, and the rate was good, and they were making enough money. You know, we were going to pay their tithe out of that. Then it's okay.
If it was going to benefit them,
then it was okay.
There's that one.
You got to always make sure it's for the right purpose, and they got to get their tithe out of it. You know, so
one of the things you shared with me earlier before we went on was that there was times that you found out as your kids were going to counseling.
Yes.
With him that you didn't find this out till a lot later.
Way later.
But there was things that your kids shared about you.
Yeah.
That he all of a sudden would come up and say, "Oh, this is not allowed," and you didn't realize that your kids had shared it, and he was specifically talking to you.
Yeah.
He just all of a sudden made all these rules.
Yeah.
One of them being that softball wasn't allowed.
Yeah. So what happened was there's three main incidents that happened to me with them that I just those are things that were just like blowing my mind personally to me. So one time I was another incident came up, and I went to my daughter and I said, "Look, I think I'm gonna start dating." It was a year later, and I think I'm gonna start dating. You know, I'm gonna start going out. I had already stopped going to MorningStar a lot. I was going very, very seldom, once a week, once a month. I was just I cut myself completely off of them because, in my mind, I knew that I wasn't serving God right. I wasn't, according to the way they serve God. Right. So in my mind, as an elder of the church, I pulled back. I stopped having the Sunday dinners with everybody else, just my kids. I did what I was supposed to do as an elder. I knew that my mind wasn't right, so I wasn't going to be bringing people into my home to bring them into that environment because I knew I wasn't right.
Okay.
I was drinking wine a lot. I started drinking wine. It was the only thing that could help me sleep. Wine was the only thing at the time that could help me sleep. I was just my brain I couldn't shut it off. And so, and at that point, I had broke my leg in 4 places. So I was walking around. And I was starting to get better and starting to lose my weight, starting to do a bunch of different things. And they had said, I was told my daughter, I'm going to start dating. And I don't know, like 3 or 4 days later, on the pulpit, the pastor came and said, "Any of you people that are doing all those online dating things, you shouldn't be doing that." A whole sermon about online dating. I was like, "Well, that's fucked up." Okay, Lord, whatever. I guess that was my dating life.
It was a sign from God.
Yeah, it was.
It had nothing to do with the fact that your daughter had mentioned it.
Right, and then
because that's how it used to come. There was a lot of those things. And then there was a lot of So
people would go in and have counseling sessions, right? Or same thing,
yeah,
right?
There was a lot of people who were like,
you can call them that, whatever you want,
feeding them.
Yeah,
but I think our kids are innocent.
Yeah, but she wasn't innocent. She was older already. She was over the age already. No, she wasn't innocent. Trust me. No. So the next one, couple of weeks later, I'm telling my kids, I'm starting to feel better. My leg's better. My therapist had said for my leg, it said you should try to join a football game or do a weighting, something that's going to be, or baseball. He said something that's going to keep you active, so get your bones strong again. Because I was very heavy and I was trying to lose weight. And he said baseball would be good. Softball, join a women's softball league. Well, the church so happened to have a male-female softball league, so I went to go join the softball league with the church members.
Okay.
With the church members.
Okay.
Something wrong with that? Yes? Is there something wrong with joining a softball league for church?
I wouldn't have thought.
Okay. So 2 weeks later, comes out of the pulpit. if you're a single female, you can't be on a woman's.
So it's only the single.
Single females cannot be on a softball league, and if you have single females in your softball league, you need to end the league. So they literally shut the league down. They shut the team down. They were no longer to play anymore because I was on it.
Really?
We only had one team, and they had to stop it because I joined it. Just like that. Not even lying. I couldn't even make this shit up. For real. So.
Way to mess things up by being a woman again.
Right, again. And then the other thing, well, the dating, the football team, and then the online thing was just ridiculous. That was just stupid to announce over the pulpit. If you ladies are doing online dating, that's against God's word. And how are you supposed to wait for you? How are you going to find a husband if you're on there on the online dating and talking to all these people and doing all that stuff? Well, okay, I can't go dancing. I can't go to the bar. I can't go to restaurants. I can't. So they have all these places you can't go, and you can't go online and do a dating. Well, how am I going to find a husband? Everybody that's in the church is married, right?
Right.
They're either married or too young. You can't date a young guy. Right. But God forbid I would do that. But another man in the church, I'm going to say his name. I don't give a fuck. Danny was Josie's husband. They got divorced.
Yeah.
So if you get divorced, you're not supposed to get remarried in the church.
Okay.
Right?
Every church has a different, right. But yes. So
he should not be allowed to get remarried again.
Okay.
He went after a virgin in the church.
Oh man, she must have been a lot younger.
Wait! Hello? I couldn't get married to anybody that was single in the church. He's all of a sudden single now, and they're going to allow him to go marry this girl in the church who's like freaking my daughter's age. He's married a daughter who's 28.
Oh.
And
he's a 28-year-old virgin.
And he's 48, and he's 48 years old at the time.
Oh.
Okay? So they're approving this marriage. Everything's approved. They're going to get married.
As the woman has been shunned, your friend, she's out of the picture.
Out of the picture because they're not supposed to be completely gone. And she's the one that's telling me he's married this girl. I was like, what the fuck? What do you mean? And she was like, for real, Christina, you gotta go check out. So I go to the church. And I was like, you're gonna marry her? Huh?
Did they control relationships together?
And the mom was trying to get her to be married off. The mom was. So she was trying to get her to be married off. All of a sudden, Danny's this great guy, right? Woo! He's a great guy. This was the man. I don't give a fuck who hears this. That was cheating on my girl Josie with other women in the church at Bible study till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh!
Who's having Bible studies?
So he's teaching the Bible studies
and having sex with the women.
How many women were there?
There was 2 marriages that were destroyed because of it.
But this is all her fault for ruining the marriage. Why
right.
Did anybody know this?
Yeah, the pastor knew it.
The pastor knew. Oh, well, outside of that, though, because I found there was a lot of secrets that I find out after we left.
I'm revealing a lot of secrets right now to you.
There was a lot of secrets.
I'm revealing a lot of secrets to you right now. A lot of people don't know that. For instance, Sister Lydia, the pastor's wife. Okay, so Melba is my best friend.
Say it again?
Melba. She's my best friend. She was the pastor's wife's sister-in-law because she married his brother. Brother. Okay. Well, they were together for 7 years. They didn't. He had issues, lots of issues, drug issues, lots of problems, drug and alcohol and stuff like that. The last year of his life, she decided she wasn't going to put with him anymore. She just said, no, I'm not going to do it anymore. You're done. I'm giving you lots of chances. 5 years of dealing with it. I'm over it. But they never got divorced. Right? They just separated. She went about her way. He went about his way. They would see each other every once in a while, whatever. He died. Okay. Well, when they went to go fill out the death certificate, the pastor's wife put that she was single. That he was single. And the only reason she found out was because she went to the Social Security to go fill out the paper because that's her husband, to let them know this is her husband. What's going to happen with me, whatever. They said he wasn't married. He's single.
Oh.
And she was like, wait, what? What do you mean he's single? No, I'm his wife. Here's my marriage certificate. She had it with her because I told her to take. We didn't know, right? But I told her this is what they're gonna ask you when you go.
Right.
So take your stuff because I just went through with my husband, right?
Right.
So I was helping her as a widow. This is what you need to go when you take. And though she called me from there. She was, Christina, you're not gonna believe what happened. And I was like, what? She goes, they're saying that he's single. I was like, who? And she was like, my husband. I was like, who? I was like, who said it? Like, what are you talking about? And she was like, Social Security says that my husband's single. And I was like, well, they have to have a death certificate. Whoever signed the death certificate has to say who did that. So they pulled a death certificate. It was Lydia. His own sister said that he was single, and he wasn't. He was married.
So did you find that
Stupid females bullshit, right? Yeah. She's mad because her sister-in-law didn't come over there and follow the duties of her husband for the last year of his life because she was tired of his bullshit because everybody else enabled him the rest of his life, and she wasn't going to do it. And she was done. She was just done. So that's what happened, and then we had to go prove to them that here's the marriage certificate. If there's a marriage certificate, if there's a divorce, there should be a divorce certificate. I mean, it's pretty, those things all happen together, and so then she got in trouble and she got mad because the state came after her and said, "Why did you put that?" Oh, I just didn't realize it was single. So she said, but she's the pastor's wife, so it's okay.
Did you find there was a lot of gaslighting?
All the time. They're always trying to start fires with somebody in the church. Always, always, always. And you can't talk to that person. Oh, you can't talk to that person. Oh, they're not in the church anymore. You can't talk to them. There's times that one of the people in the church, and this has happened after I left. These people are so dear to my heart, and I don't even know what the whole reason was or why they left. But this guy he sang on the church pulpit the whole time we were there.
Oh wow!
The whole time. This guy's name is. He decided that he was got a better job. And then he decided, him and his wife said they got a better job. They're going to move to Texas with another family in the church that had left. That the church was no longer. They were distancing from that family already, right?
Right.
So when they decided they were going to go move over there with them, they made this big old scandal.
Wow.
Kicked him out of the church, and told them they were never going to prosper, never going to do anything because they're leaving.
Yeah, we had a lot of that.
How can you do that to somebody and be okay with yourself? It's not even, I don't wish ill on other people.
No.
And I'm not a pastor.
No.
Does that make sense? I'm not a pastor, but he did that to us so many times. If you didn't do what he said, as far as you call you asking if you could go on vacation and you say no, well, we would call, are you sure you want to go on vacation? Maybe you should take the extra money and put it in the offering envelope.
Really? Yeah.
So we're like, my husband was like, wait a minute, what? And my husband was like, wait, what? No, he goes, you're joking, right? And he goes, ha ha, yeah, ha ha.
No, I remember, and it's funny that you're saying that because it really just made me remember it. Like I remember, I had gotten divorced when I was in my young 20s. We never went on vacation. That was very frowned upon.
Yeah. We stopped going on vacation because it was very frowned upon. We used to do them all the time.
Yeah.
2 weeks at a time. Yeah. And then every other, we have another function coming up. There's a church function coming up. We need some more money. Oh, we need this. Oh, we need that we'll just give it. Our money was just, like you said, hand over fist, just giving them money, buying, for everything. It was just,
Yeah, you realize one thing that I realized that happens is that everything funnels one direction and everything funnels up, and it all goes to
their family.
It goes to them and their kids and their family and whoever's being groomed for the next chair or ministers or that type of thing.
He never moved anybody up. A lot of the men left in the church because he never moved anybody up to sit beside him besides his son.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It was generally their children.
Yeah.
But they had a really rough relationship with their children too.
Yeah,
and
one of their
a lot of their kids left, and
well, one of their sons, their daughter-in-law left because they got divorced.
Right.
The daughter, she got divorced because didn't want to live in that realm of bullcrap either, and they took her daughter away. They have her daughter.
Do you think that? I do believe that they believe a lot of it, and I believe some of it was manipulated for sure.
Yeah.
Because, And some of it was talking to people who left afterwards and finding out their stories, because they always did don't talk to them.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk to them.
Yeah, because they're
just, whatever. And it was very like, so we never talked to anybody who ever left again. But we found out later that one of the women who left, and she was a single mom, and I knew that, and this was one thing, and it was probably one of the reasons I got out, is being a single woman in that environment was horrible.
Yeah.
On a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
But one of the women...
Not the men. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it was weird. It's funny because, different ones had different things, though. I mean, if you would look at the polygamists, they kicked all the guys out if they get old enough, because it was competition, because they're marrying all the women off to,
Yeah.
So a woman being single is just more surplus to add to, it just depends on what the faith is or whatever.
Right.
But so one of the women, she had actually been beat up horribly before she left by the minister. He had beat the living fuck out of her and then paid her off to never tell anybody. And then she left very shortly after that.
And did she tell people?
Well, we everybody who was within the community, because we called it a community, everybody who was in the community was, cut off. So nobody ever related with her after she left. It wasn't until finding out later, and it was never talked about. And we were very heavily talked about, you should never have secrets.
Right.
But they had their secrets.
Oh my God, all the time.
There was so many secrets that they had, and it's that part of gaslighting where it's like, don't ask questions. Yeah. Listen to what you're told, and it's all that it's coming from this higher down. It's not us saying it. It's this. It's the spirit and the higher and their relationship with God. And so you're taken. Your relationship with God is actually taken away, because you're not supposed to have your own relationship with something higher. You're expected to funnel all of that through them and what they say to you.
Yeah, and they wanted us. And
I think that's the biggest crime.
They wanted us to have a relationship with God. They always preached that, but they just wanted to control what you did outside of that relationship. Yes. They wanted to control what you did around everything else, your family, your children,
But it could never override them either.
Never.
You could never come and say, well, I had this meditation or this experience or this moment, and I feel like this is really coming from a faith place, if it went against what they said.
Yeah. So now that you're talking about that, that's crazy you're talking about that. So they always were preaching to us about having visions and having signs, and I was truly like, I can honestly say I had some amazing experiences there, and the touches with God that I had. Right. I will never take that away from that. But that's my experience with God. Right. It was the environment that I was in, but the experience I had was the experience I had with God. Right. I'll never take that away. So, I would get visions. I don't know if I told you about that. I would get visions, and I would see. I saw in my vision. It's just clear as day. Like, I see the restaurant. I see 2 coffins in the front of the restaurant, and it's my daughter Esther and my son Sam that were in those coffins at the time, that age. And then inside the restaurant was Sister Lupe and Sister Sylvia. And I knew in my heart that it wasn't my kids that were in those coffins. I knew in my heart it was going to have something to do with them. So I called my pastor that night. It was like 12 o'clock midnight. I was like, I just had this dream. It's a vision. It's not a dream. I feel it in my heart. Something's going to happen. And I had been having these visions for many, many, many years about different things. And I just never had shared them with anybody because of the shame that they put on you about being a witch, about the shame they put on you from my experience as being Hispanic and everything else. But I never wanted to tell anybody about my visions. I never told anybody. So I felt like I had to tell because it was important. I needed this. She needed to know this. So he said, okay, well, go ahead and go tell her. So I went to her and I told her, I said, look, I need to tell you I had a dream. And this is what the dream was about. And I feel like somebody in your family, one of your children is gonna pass away. It's not my child. It's gonna be your child. And she was like, kind of like looked at me kind of weird. And she was like, I'm telling you this. And told her it's straight up. It's a vision. 3 days later, her granddaughter got hit. Coming out of the restaurant over there on Main. Her granddaughter ran out of that restaurant and got run over by a car 3 days later.
Oh, wow.
So the pastor was very, needless to say, shocked that it actually had. I don't think he really actually believed. No, I can't. Let me say. He did not believe that I had the vision. In reality, that's what I know now. So about 3 weeks later, I had another vision, and this was about a minister in the pulpits. One of the brothers in the pulpit. I had a dream about. I don't know who it was.
Right.
All I know was I went to him. I said, "Look, somebody in your family is in a car wash, and I see them go into the car wash, and I see them come out of the car wash, and there's and it's bloody. I don't know what it is. I'm just telling you, it's somebody that you know. I saw you. I saw your wife. I saw your children crying, but I don't know who the person is." And he was like, "Yeah, Pastor told me about that vision. Yeah, that's pretty fucked up, isn't it?" That's what he said to me. And I was like, telling you about a vision I'm having about you, and you're telling me that's pretty fucked up. I mean, I guess you can say that, but I'm just letting you know something's gonna happen. I don't believe it. I was like, okay. 3 days later, his cousin his head got chopped off in a car wash because the machine broke. So the pastor came to me and he said, "Sister, your visions are too real and your visions are too much. And we need to have a talk about this with you and your husband. You shouldn't be telling people these things because you're scaring people."
Okay.
And I said, "So when I came to you and told you what the vision was, you knew. And you still don't want me to share that? Why didn't you tell me then not to share it?" He says, "Quite honestly, sister, I didn't think it was real." And I said, "So keep in mind, all this stuff is happening as I'm learning all these things about my friends who are no longer in the church, right?"
Right. And this is what leads up to the leaving
this is
type
all
of stuff.
this
it's like,
stuff.
It's
all the little things I'm finding. All
of-
my friends, my friend Josina, I'm hearing the truth about her. And then Lydia telling me that 3 months after my husband passed away, I'm surprised you're even still here. And then my friend Michelle and Donnie, I'm thinking about them, how when their daughter got pregnant and they made her feel like crap, and they made them feel like crap. And then the other family that had that little girl, and they made her feel like crap. And all these things just keep coming up and coming up and coming up. And I'm thinking, why? I came here for the truth.
Right.
I came to this church for the truth. Why is these things happening? God, I was bad. My God.
Yeah. Yes.
But it wasn't his fault.
Right.
And he kept showing me. It's not me. It's them. I don't make them say those things to you. They choose to say that. Right. Everybody has a choice.
Right.
Everybody has a choice.
Right.
You have to make that choice and decide what you're going to do for you.
Right.
And that's when I started seeking differently and started really going into researching and finding out, meditating, and going into all the things that I've learned from that church. How to pray, how to reach God, how to turn away from God.
Right.
Because that's what I did. I felt like the walk that I was walking and the path I was going on was so far away from God.
Because you were leaving?
Because I was told it was different. Because I was told that if I left, that's what I was going to be.
Right.
So my brain was thinking, this isn't right. You shouldn't be doing this. This is where you're at. This is the truth. And then the more I started finding out that it wasn't the truth, that was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah.
So the first time somebody told me that I raised my kids in a cult, I was pissed. I fucking told them off. I told them, fuck yourself. Fuck you.
Yes.
For real. I was pissed off.
I totally get it.
I was fucking pissed off. I was like, fuck you. What the fuck are you talking about? Well, you're the one telling me all this. I was like, well, fucking A, I am. Well, goddamn. I cried.
How long?
I cried for a fucking week.
I'm sure.
And my eyes were puffy, swollen, and I didn't come out of my house. I was devastated. I raised my kids in a cult. How could I? And then I thought, that's all I knew.
Yeah.
I thought I was doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
I truly thought that teaching them how to be righteous and how how to do the things of God and how to dress holy and sing praises to the Almighty God. I thought those were the right things to do. But them coming in and taking it out of that concept and that perspective and making it into something that's so manly and not God. That's what happened.
Right.
It's not God.
Right.
Because the relationship I have with God now today is stronger, and I will tell you this right now, stronger than it's ever been. I don't go to that church. I don't do the things that they said I used to have to do in order to be serving God, in order to be right with God. I have a direct call to the God of the universe anytime I want. And so do you. So do you. You can call on God through any way, whatever means it is. You just call on His name and He will call you and take you and comfort you. And He has never forsaken me, ever.
Right.
He's always been there for me to take care of everything. Even in this time that we're in right now.
Oh, yeah.
In this COVID-19, like, I am not afraid.
Absolutely.
I am not afraid of what's happening. I'm not afraid of what's going on. And everybody in that church, let's talk about that for a little bit. Let's talk about how He made us get ready every year. Get ready. The Lord's coming. You have to stockpile and stockpile and stockpile and stockpile. And most importantly, don't put in your 401k plan. Don't pay the 401k plan. Pay it to the kingdom. The kingdom's going to get you into heaven. The kingdom. Keep paying it to the kingdom.
Why nobody's ever going to retire?
Do you know how many people were pissed off because 30 years later the Lord didn't come and they still don't have no retirement because that man told them not to? That's why I'm pissed off. I didn't do that. I still did my 401k.
Good for you.
And guess what? I retired at 45, bitches.
Good for you.
Fuck that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? No,
Well,
that's
so
the bullshit.
people.
He told everybody, don't invest in real estate. Don't do your 401ks. I have videotapes of this man saying that, so anybody can call me out on that bullshit anytime you fucking want. I have videotapes of that man saying that to the church. You don't need to invest in your 401k. Those things are all going to fall apart. And then he tried to make it a big old thing about it in 2008 when all the 401k fell apart. Everybody's fell apart. Everybody's did, just like right now, right? Just like right now. But I still saved and I still got money. I was still able to retire at 45.
Right.
Because I didn't do what he said. I was like, nah, bitch, you got me fucked up. I've been putting money away since I was 13. Why am I going to stop when I'm 20? Because he says.
Right.
At least no. And those are little things, you start putting back here for memory loss and for memory, and then then all of a sudden they come back up. And my best friend Terry said to me, she goes, Christina, we didn't save.
Right.
We never saved.
Well, and I have a lot of people, and that's a lot of people's experience. If they're in for a long time, that they get to a point where they're at an age of retirement and they can't retire because they've given all this money to the church.
And
but
they're all retired.
The church has a ton of assets.
Oh yeah, totally.
The church owns a ton of property, and the church has been making money for years.
Yeah, and they're all paid for.
Yeah.
And they're all paid for.
Absolutely.
All his properties are paid for. Sorry.
No,
all
fine.
his properties are paid
Fine.
for. All
Don't
his
worry about
properties are. We put in the trash.
No,
Okay.
and when we're done.
All his properties are paid for. All his homes are paid for. All his cars are paid for. Everything's paid for. And there's people in the church who don't have a home to live.
Yeah.
There's people in the church who don't have cars. There's people in the church, and then when you go ask him to help you, it's like, wow. Wow. It's like pulling a fucking wrench to get him to give you help. My granddaughter passed away.
I'm sorry.
In my arms.
I'm very sorry.
We didn't have the money to pay for the funeral expenses. It was so fast. It happened so fast. And I went to him and I said, look, we need money. Like, I need money to bury my granddaughter. I'm not going to give her no rinky-dink shit. This is bullshit, Well, okay, we'll lend it to you, but you have to pay it back. Whatever. Just whatever. So, they lent it to us, and we had to pay it back. They gave it to us on I was like, are you serious? And I didn't think about that. Because it was just, well, you can't borrow money for the church because, we don't ever do that, but this is
doesn't matter that you've been tithing for years.
This is a one-time occasion, sister. We're just going to let this happen for you by this moment.
Husband has built, the church. Doesn't matter that you've given
so much to
all your sweat and blood. And
every single, my daughters still do it. Every single event they have at the church, I was the one that took care of all the funerals. So I would go to all the ladies who have big meetings, and if a funeral happened, I was one in charge. I would take care of all the funerals, get all the food together, organize everything. Our sister Vanessa or my daughter Desiree does it for free. And then they want you to give them these big old huge cakes, 3-stack, 5-stack cakes that cost $1,000, $2,000 in the store. They want you to pay $50 for it. How much were your supplies? I'll cover your supplies.
It took me 85 hours to bake this thing, but
5 hours.
It was just a Betty Crocker.
Just Betty Crocker.
It was Betty Crocker.
Yeah.
So
matter.
I guess you could just give me $20. We'll be even, Steve.
We were giving them 5-star. My daughter is a 5-star cook. She's a personal chef that's cooked at an Irish Chef America. I'm talking. We don't mess around.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And I'm an amazing cook. I have to say that. I'm an amazing cook. People, they would beg me to bring specific food items because they know that I make them.
My parents were my mother cooked and cooked and cooked and cooked. I mean, she cooked so, and as kids, we would actually go to the minister's house, and my mother's there cooking. We're going home to eat a bowl of beans.
Oh, she's cooking.
While my mother's cooking them all dinner. These just beautiful meals and dinners of any kind of food. Yeah. Like we get boxes of food delivered to we would get boxes of food delivered to our houses of what we could eat, and they would get grocery shops of whatever they wanted that week. Like
wow,
because we were collective through a lot of it, so. He'll steal your scrunchie. So it's like my mother would be cooking them whatever, all kinds of stuff. And we were never allowed to eat there. We'd go see my mom and see the food she was cooking, but we couldn't have any of it. And then we'd go home and eat whatever it was that we were able to have there.
It's so many things that you think about that we're not even like...
Just out of integrity.
But
as they preach about integrity.
Yeah, and out of integrity, but out of like when you think about it, like how stupid could I be that I would believe that stuff from like now? You know what I mean? I think about it because they don't throw it at you like it's a. They throw it's a curveball. That's what they throw it at you this way, so you don't think of it like this way.
Look, you look back and it seems so obvious. And one thing I want to go back to that you said that I think it is. We have our own direct connection that we lose because of what we're told, and there's this, and the place where when people try to leave these experiences, they feel like they're shamed into believing that they're losing their relationship with God.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
And that's heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking.
That is so damaging to think that if you leave, you're losing your relationship with your God, relationship with your family, relationship,
I lost all that.
relationship with everybody you've ever known, relationship with your support system. You had already lost your husband, so that it becomes like you are like taking this leap of just like
on your own.
I know it's like going against everything, all the evidence is telling you. You just have this intuition like I have to fucking go, even if this means I lose my soul.
Yeah.
And that's why people don't leave.
That's a harsh reality to do. You have no idea.
Yeah.
That is harsh. And then the second part of that is when your kid tells you that you raised them in a cult and you're like,
I want you to know I had that phone call. I did. My daughter did that one day. She was 16 or 17. We had been out for not long, a couple of years or so. And she calls me up and she says, Mom, she's like, it was a cult. And I was like, yeah, I know, honey. And she burst out sobbing. And I had just started using the word. I hadn't, prior to that, for a long time, I was like, it was cult-like. It was a little dysfunctional. Right. And then I like the terms got worse, It was a little dysfunctional, and I was like, No, it's kind of cult-like, you know. But it wasn't a cult, but it was kind of cult-like.
We tried to make ourselves feel better. I don't know how we do that.
And then eventually it was like, I went to my therapist. I was like, it was a cult. And he goes, and he kind of looks at me like he's known the whole time, and he's like, I've never heard you say that word. And I was like, oh no. And I was just like, and I went on. So she calls me and she goes, Mom, she goes, no. She's like, I looked it up and everything online says it was a cult and it's this. And she started telling me these stories of stuff that's online, which I'm aware of because it's the same stuff that's been out there forever.
Right.
Some of it's true, some of it's not. And she's like, I was telling my friends about how amazing my childhood was, and I was trying to look something up to show them, and then all this stuff came up, and she's like, I didn't know this. I said, I'm sorry, honey. I said, I'm really sorry. She's like, why didn't you tell me? I said, I didn't know when I was coming out of it how to share that with you. I said, I didn't know it was. It's taken me a long time to figure it out, but I want you to know that I'll answer any question you have now, and I'm sorry that I didn't know how to tell you differently. Yeah. Like, because it's like you're trying to come to terms with it yourself, so you don't know how. It's like trying to help somebody through the same abuse you went through. It's like you're both in the same boat, so it's like you're not far enough ahead to really.
Then both of us are my daughter and my son Samuel has been way better, but he's been by me my whole side. Like my son has been by my side the whole time. I guess what I was saying earlier was with this just came back, so I have to say this. So the lady that I went to talk to, Martha, which was the lady that I told you when Sister Dita told me all that stuff, went to talk to her. Well, they shunned them out of the church. This is what they did to them. And she gave me permission to talk. I don't give a fuck anyways, but she told me she would. I love her. She said that his Pastor Ochoa's wife died. His first wife passed away. Sister Martha is Pastor Lizarraga's sister, right? The pastor of the church's sister. Okay. Pastor Ochoa was a very long time friend of theirs for 55 years to 55 years. They've known each other. His wife passed away. Sister Martha's husband was still alive, but they were divorced, right? So they were going to get married. They're perfect. There's no reason why they should get married. Yeah, they let them get married. As soon as they got married, he didn't go to the wedding. All of a sudden, he didn't go to the wedding. And then he comes back the very next day after they went and got married. He calls up all the ushers to the church and tells all the ushers that they need to let. My husband was an usher, so he said, "We need to let you guys know that. We need to let you guys know that Pastor Ezekiel. He didn't even call him pastor anymore. Ezekiel Ochoa is not going to be able to be a minister in our pulpit no more. He can be a deacon, but he can't be a pastor."
Why? Because he got married?
Yeah. Because he got married to Sister Martha. He's supposed. If you're a man of the pulpit, you're supposed to have one wife. But he forgot about the part in the marriage where it said in the Bible where it says, when your wife passes away, you're no longer bound to the vows of your marriage.
Okay.
Right? That's what I thought. Right. But he said, no, you can only be a man and one wife. That's the only reason why you can be on the pulpit. I said, so you're telling me that every other apostolic minister out here who's been married twice is going against God's will? He says, it's not what the other apostolic people are doing. It's what we're doing here in our church. That was his role. He was going to follow what God said.
Okay.
So they didn't. Their whole purpose was to be in the ministry. That's right. The whole purpose is we're going to be in the ministry. We want to have our own thing there in the church, but they want to do it together. So they left. And that trip, that was like, that set the whole church apart. Like, half of the family went with him. The other people stayed here.
How big was this church?
At that point in time, it's always never got more than 400. I won't say more than 500 maybe at the max.
That's pretty large.
It's a pretty big church. It's not a small church. It's not 1,000, 2,000. It's not one of those big ones. Right. It's 400 or 500 people is max. But when that happened, half the church split. When that happened, and it was very difficult for a lot of people to. And this is when my husband and I were still really strong, and that's when a lot of things started. Like, I started looking. My husband was like, he came to me. We talked about it afterwards, and I said, you know what, honey? I go, what do you think about that? He goes, babe, we just have to follow what he says. And I was like, why? Why do we have to follow what he says? Is that really right?
I think that's why she had the issues she had with you.
Oh yeah, because I was always
you question things.
Always question, and to this day she still does. She, I mean, let's fast forward to New Year's Day this year. Let's fast forward all the way to New Year's Day. My daughter sends
months ago.
My daughter sends me a text, and she says, "Mom, I want you to come over. I want you to make your pozole. We're gonna make green chili. Like we did a big family New Year's Day.
Nice.
Because we didn't get to do it for Christmas or Thanksgiving. We did a big Thanksgiving. We didn't do a big Christmas, but she wanted me to have their big all my food. My kids love my food. Like,
yeah.
So we're getting there. Well,
all kids love mom's food.
I didn't know that they had invited the pastor of the church. So I walk in there and they're all there, and I walk in there. I take my food, happy, putting my food away, and she was like, "Sister, I didn't know you were coming." I was like, "Really? It's my daughter's house. Why wouldn't I come? It's New Year's Day." That should tell you a lot, right? She didn't think we were talking because my kids hadn't told her that we were talking, right? Hadn't told the pastor yet that we were talking to mom again.
Right.
So, and then she proceeded to tell me, "Oh, where do you live now?" Hold on. Sorry.
You're okay.
I took a deep breath of air. Mm-hmm. Where do you live now? So keep in mind, I haven't seen this woman probably 3 years at that point, maybe a year and a half. But it was a brief passing the last time I saw her. She's asking me where I live. What kind of car do you drive?
She asked you what kind of car you drive?
She says, "What? Where do you live? Oh my God! What kind of car do you drive?" And I was like, "Are you a Valley Girl or something?" She was like, "What?" I was like, "Why do you care what kind of car I drive?" That's exactly what I said. And she was like, I drive a 2016 convertible Camaro, and I live in Scottsdale. She was like, "Really? Oh my God, when did you move to Scottsdale?" And that was her reaction to me. And I looked over at my daughters and I was like, "You guys want to help her?" Because I'm over it. Like I don't know what to say. Like I seriously did not know what to say at that point. I'm a 52-year-old woman. 52-year-old woman. She's 55. And she's asking me, after not seeing her for 3.5 years, what kind of motherfucking car I drive.
Status.
And where the fuck do I live?
Status.
And guess what? She fucking choked on her goddamn foot. You know why? Because I didn't live in Mesa. And I didn't drive that old little car I used to drive. But I've always had nice cars.
Right.
We've always had nice cars. She just assumed that because I wasn't in the church anymore, that I had failed and done so horribly, and that's what she was assuming.
Right.
She was assuming that I was going to be bad, like Josie. My best friend Josie went off the other end and did all kinds of bad things, and she assumed that that's what I was going to be.
Well, that's
what she was hoping for.
There's almost like they're
for you to fail.
Putting that on you to fail, because if you leave and you're not going to be a part of that, then
you're going to fail.
Then obviously you're going to be missing the blessing, this piece.
Yeah.
And they want that to happen because then it proves to everybody else who's still there that they need to keep and stay there, because this is what will happen if you leave. See, you're going to fail like this person. Your life's going to go to shit. You're not going to have a good relationship.
But then they turn around and they say, "Oh, God reigns on the just and the unjust." Yeah. That's how they blow it off. Oh, it's okay. She's unjust, but his blessings still reign on her. It's okay. It's because she was a part of us.
Right.
It was because she was a part of us.
They
can never give you the credit for the work that you've done.
Absolutely.
They always want to take the credit for themselves.
Yes.
And that's the part that needs to be revealed.
Right.
About the falsified information that they try to portray to be, and it's so fake. So I'm not fake. I've never been fake. I can't be fake.
I can't imagine you being that way.
And I've always thought and respected her prior to all this. the last 8 years of my life. I respected her for I thought she was that kind of person.
Right.
And then when the truth started being revealed and she really wasn't that person, it's not God's fault. I'm going to say that over and over and over again. It's not God's fault. This woman made the choice to say and do the things she did. It had nothing to do with God. It was their choice when they told my kids not to come talk to me. After they literally had a conversation with my kids when I got in the car accident and told my kids that they should not come talk do not go see your mother. She's bad. She's evil. The devil is trying to take her away, and you just need to stay out of his path.
It still breaks my heart the amount of separation that was put. The amount of separation that was put between not just, within my family, within me and all of my siblings, within all of my siblings and my parents, within my siblings, my parents, and my grandparents, because there was so much separation that was caused when we were in the church. And, I feel like my relationship with my grandparents was totally damaged. I feel like since my whole family's out now, we have done a ton of work to rebuild relationships between us as siblings, between us and my parents, because it was all controlled by them. Because it's harder to leave.
Yeah, it's hard.
If you're not all a family unit, you're not all going to get out.
Yeah, and there's a lot.
And you have to leave people behind.
There's still families there that are fighting that. There's still families that are still having families that are like my family. There's a couple of families that are like, the funny thing is
fucking atrocity.
Ridiculous. We used to pray for my daughter who was out. You know what I'm saying? And now they're praying for us to come back in. You know what I mean? You feel the cycle?
Oh, I know.
You know what I'm saying?
I know.
They're praying for her. We're praying for her to come back, and now I'm out with her, and now my other daughter Esther's out now. She's finally woke up my 21-year-old, right. And we have two left. Jacqueline is. I have three left. Jacqueline, Isabel, and Desiree. Those are the three, and the funny thing is, there's so much stuff that it's okay for you, but it's not okay for you. It's not okay for you, but it's okay for me.
Yeah.
So, why I say that by meaning this. So yeah, the rules, right? So another one of the things that happened was with me. I totally lost my train of thought.
Well, you'll remember it in a minute. I have another question.
Okay.
So, after getting out and that feeling like you're leaving, you don't know, but you feel like you're leaving everything and you don't know, what did you do? How did you rebuild that relationship? And to me, some of it's like taking apart, you're unweaving this part that is some spiritual experience with a higher God or universe or whatever people everybody has a different experience. I try to respect anybody's feeling about it. But you're trying to take away that negative and all the bullshit that was fed into that. And how did you begin to rebuild, okay, this is my experience with something higher and beautiful and meaningful and that I was searching for my whole life. And take out the part where it's like, this is what they taught me that was their control. How did you learn to separate those for yourself?
I think the biggest thing for me is God had showed me a long time ago that it wasn't Him. I already had that feeling in my heart, knowing
and I really like the way that you say
that it wasn't God. He has shown me a long time ago that my searching for the truth was searching for Him. All the obstacles and the journeys that I had to go through and I went through this process, we're still searching for His truth. Right? So what I did mostly was I would go into my prayer closet at home and I would pray and just ask God regularly, on a regular basis. If there was things that were happening around me that I couldn't control with my kids, okay, so the first Thanksgiving.
Sorry.
That they didn't invite me to Thanksgiving dinner.
So you were alone.
With my son, my daughter, and then they decided Esther and Samuel were at home. And we were supposed to be going over with her new boyfriends at the time house to go have Thanksgiving with them, and they canceled because they were having issues too. There's one thing you can take my heart apart. My family is Thanksgiving because that's like the only religion, the only one we really celebrate. We don't celebrate Christmas. We haven't celebrated Christmas since my granddaughter passed away. And this mom knew that not inviting me to Thanksgiving was going to kill my heart. That's what they did. They did it to me. I was so devastated.
Take a breath.
And then it happened again. And then no Christmas. Then no birthdays. And why? Because this man said that I was no good.
Right.
Because this man said that he's trying to get the. You think that's a moth? It's not a moth.
He'll bite it. He'll bite it and bite through it because he's known to do that.
And then the birthdays.
So they had your kids cut you off on any type of celebration.
They didn't.
Is
come
it still
see
that
me.
way?
It just, this Thanksgiving was the first Thanksgiving that we've had a lot of up and down holidays, vacations, stuff like that. Last year for Thanksgiving, not this past year, but the year before, 2018, my daughter was getting married on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So, we had family in from out of town. Okay. We had family in from out of town. My brother-in-law, my sister-in-law were in from out of town. I don't really talk about back home my stuff because I just don't want to talk about any of my business back home. But they were at my daughter's house. Keep in mind, my brother-in-law smokes weed.
Okay.
My brother-in-law drinks. But that's the reason why I wasn't allowed my grandkids, because I smoke weed. And because I
even
drink.
though there's other family that does.
Right.
Right.
It was always that mom shouldn't do it. So like my sister, my daughter Isabel's mother-in-law, you go to their house. I love these people to death. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Okay, I love them to death. You go to their house, they have a freaking wine cellar. They have a freaking alcohol cellar. They have a refrigerator. They have all this stuff in the house. The dad smokes cigarettes. And it's okay for her kids to go hang out over there still to this day. My daughter Isabel will not let my kids come to my house. But because I was in the church and left, they've never been in the church. So they don't know better, but I do.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
So it's
because
holding you accountable for what you should know.
Yeah. But I probably have less alcohol in my house right now than she does.
Right.
My daughter. Because I don't even drink alcohol. And the times I do have it, I get it because it's on sale, because somebody comes over. But it doesn't really matter when the fuck I want to get alcohol. It's my motherfucking business. I don't give a fuck what people say. If you want to buy alcohol, buy alcohol. If you want to buy cigarettes, you want to smoke weed, it's your relationship with God, not man's. And that's the part that pisses me off. They made us feel so shameful about anything that we did.
It's that separation and shunning. And that's what I was going to say. I was thinking of this earlier, like, I think that it's the fact that any type of person would try and create distance between other things. Family members. That is not a God.
No, that is not from God at all.
That is never that is not the teachings
no.
of any faith.
Nope.
You know, there was never none of the masters. If we want to talk about all the different masters, because I've studied a lot of religion.
Right.
Like I know a lot of my religions.
Right.
Not churches specifically, but religions. You go back into the history of all this kind of stuff. Yeah. It is about coming together and loving anybody, whether they know it or don't know.
Going after that one that falls out instead of shunning them away. They shun them away.
And it's always just sending love to those, whether you like them or not.
Right.
So but it's like, that's not what we see today. No. And that's not the way people are practicing. That's not the way people treat everybody in politics or treat them in churches, like why in churches are we, is there that separation?
Yeah.
But that's the experience, and that a lot of people who come in these more controlling ones have had, and it's to keep people in it and to keep them from funneling their money in, is all I've seen.
Or to keep them to keep funneling their money in.
Exactly.
Funneling it in, right? Not yeah. And that's it's true. I mean, that is exactly what it is. They never wanted us to leave. The funny thing is that
it's a great business model.
This is of course, right? My husband, and I guess the funny part that